you want to continue to follow our adventure, click subscribe. So you don't miss anything, click the bell notification. Hello, Lives on the Road, subscribers and followers. Well, as most of you know, I a lot of time discussing other YouTubers and how I feel like they don't always present all the true facts about what it's like to live out here. And I've always asked them to please show the realities of this lifestyle. Today I watched a video, and by the time you see it, it'll be several days old, that really demonstrated what this life is like. And I really want to thank her a lot. She's probably a mid-sized YouTuber in comparison to the other RV YouTubers. I cannot say her name because I don't have permission and there's kind of copyright issues, but I can put a link to the video right here, and what you'll see is a little thing pop across. If you don't see it, then just hit your screen on your phone and you'll see it. And the reason I'd like for you to see this video, and I wish I could get permission, is because she showed what I would consider a real life scenario. It's actually a two-part series, but the video you're getting ready to see is the second part. What happened was the day before there was some bad guys drinking and hooting and hollering and doing their illegal activities. And then that night, she was sleeping in her van, and these folks decided that it would be a good idea to come right next to her van and make all kinds of noise, and very scary. The next morning, she gets up, and they've decided they're going to move to a different campground. The bad guy, the guy who's been hooting and hollering all night, comes over to her campground. It did cause some fear, and I get this fear, I really do. He's walking away. He calls her the B word. It's bad. So anyway, they go to the different campground, and it's apparently just down the hill from them, and they go on down there, and they're getting ready to set up, and the bad guy follows them down. So they have to leave. Some of these bigger YouTubers I've talked about puts all the educational stuff at the end so you watch all the way through, but she didn't. She put it right at the beginning, which is great. That means that this is an educational video. This is what you want to see. So as I was saying, I've had to deal with these kind of situations in two different scenarios. And both of them involved guns. The first one, we were in the campground, we were in the pop-up. I mean, both stories are almost identical. And of course, people are drinking and hooting and hollering. It's past the 10 o'clock curfew. And they start shooting off guns. Well, a lot of people say, why don't you just leave? Well, if you leave... Now, think about her situation. If you get up and you go outside, start packing your stuff up, they're literally right outside your vehicle. You're trying to avoid them. You don't want to have a face-to-face confrontation with them. Well, if you're getting up to pack up, you're going to endure this face-to-face confrontation. In my point, they had firearms. Now, she probably didn't know if they had firearms or not. Well, come to find out, this guy is so brazen that he was willing to come over the next morning to have this face-to-face confrontation. Now imagine if that had been in the middle of the night when he was drunk, hooting and hollering outside her van. Same thing goes. They're drinking, they're shooting off guns, let's just say I decided to pack up, so I go outside. Now see, in the pop-up, I mean, obviously that would have been, a hour and a half breakdown in the middle of the night, putting everything away. But a lot of people say, well, this is why I have an RV, or this is why I have a van, this is why. Well, you're still going to have stuff outside. I'm certain of it. Now, with us, I always have the generator outside, and I lock it up to the front wheel. Possibly at my own detriment, but I'm also trying to save my generator from being stolen, and I don't want to put it away each night with it being hot. If I put it away hot, it's risking the camper fire. So I leave it outside, I lock it up to the front wheel. Well, if I need to drive off, no matter what I do, I got to get out of the camper, I got to walk around, I got to get into the truck. Well, I also got to unlock the generator. I got to put the generator away. I have this jack where I stabilize the back end so it doesn't bounce around, so I got to take that jack off, otherwise I'm going to be dragging it down the road. I got to put the stool away, the step stool away that we use to get in and out. It's going to take a half hour. It takes a half hour to pack the car up. So this isn't just driving away. And I've tried to explain this in other videos where you can't do this. And people still say, well, it's better to leave than stay there. And I am suggesting, if you watch her video, that it is not. It is not better to leave than to stay there. You go outside, I think you are encouraging a face-to-face encounter with a bad guy. And in my case, bad guys that have already shot off guns, who are not exactly worried about your safety, because if they were worried about your safety, they wouldn't be shooting off guns in the middle of the night drunk. Now, I did leave a comment on her video, and she replied back, and rightfully so. I think it was a very cordial conversation. I said, thank you for this video. It's, I think, one of the best ones I've seen. I said, you know, I've been trying to explain this type of behavior out here. And she says, well, it doesn't happen very often. And, you know, I guess I kind of agree with that, but I don't agree with it. So let me explain. What does it mean by that often? Well, I've had 4 scenarios in the last year where either I was victimized, I was scared I was going to be victimized, or I was in the middle of the night and people were doing things that I really did not feel like was safe. That's a lot. Now imagine in my stick and brick. I will admit that I was robbed twice in a week, but it was by the same people. That was the only crime in my entire life that had ever occurred to me, or that I was fearful for my life while I lived in a stick and brick. Don't get me wrong. I understand. Crime happens in a stick and brick too. But I think it happens out here more frequently. Not just crime, but this fear. It can happen in a house. The fear, not just crime, but fear, you know, something fearful is going to happen. But I think it happens out here more frequently, even though it's not that often. In her case, it may have never happened before. In my case, it's happened 4 times. Well, that's a lot in a year and a half in comparison to a stick and brick. For those of you who think that you can overcome this, and I know that a lot of people say, this is why I carry a firearm. Okay, that's great. You believe in self-defense, and I'm not going to oppose that or anything. But that doesn't really solve the problem. You can't just go around shooting people that make you afraid. Sometimes you're just afraid, and rightfully so, because people are scary. But that doesn't mean you get to shoot them. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.